obviously there's an argument to be made. Oh, there's so many more eyes on eBay. Okay, great. But if you create a community, how auctions work, you only need two people that want the card.
This is GoodSellas, a podcast for collectors who want to learn how to sell the cards they don't want so they can get their hands on the cards they need. In every episode, we uncover the secrets collectors use to move their cards so you can sell more and sell faster. Let's get started.
Hey, this is JB. I'm the CEO of Stack and your host for this episode of GoodSellas. GoodSellas is brought to you by Stack, an app where you can run and launch Stack sales directly from your phone. Using Stack, collectors will claim what they want from your sale, and then Stack will automatically reconcile who claimed what, send out your totals, collect payment, and create the labels so that after a sale, all you have to do is hit print and drop your packages at the post office. One of my goals of this podcast is to give collectors options for how they want to sell. And when I look at the app called Whatnot, I see a lot of similarities with what people are doing with Stack sales and what we're trying to build with the Stack app. And well, with that said, I guess Whatnot does a lot more than just kind of this stack sale approach, from selling cards to selling and running breaks to plenty of other activities that take place on that app. But I wanted to bring on Dary Rezvani because he's doing some very stack selling-esque activities on Whatnot. He's running sales on Saturdays or Sunday mornings where he does small auction sales for singles. I think they start at $1 and go for 30 seconds, and he just kind of powers through dozens of cards. It's pretty fascinating to see. I've sat in on a few, and I just wanted to learn more about how it works. So with that said, Dary, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, JB. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So let's start there just with some background. I know obviously you don't work at Whatnot, but you are a verified seller there.
Yeah.
And for the audience that doesn't know, what is the Whatnot platform from how you see it?
Yeah, I mean, Whatnot. So this is the reason I like Whatnot so much. It started outside the realm of cards, right? So it started, I believe, as a Funko sell type thing, and then comics, and then eventually they pushed out into cards as the boom happened. And so, it's an app that if you want to auction things, you can have fixed sales, stuff along those lines. But really, I mean, you kind of get this parasocial relationship with the people that you're trying to buy from and things along those lines. I do know, they've taken a bit of flack for not having the highest standard for who is selling and who is on the app, but I think that's kind of a double-edged sword with what they're doing, because they are heavily seller friendly, which, is, I don't want to say an overcorrection, but basically the exact opposite of eBay, right? Where eBay will let you lose everything you have as long as the buyer's happy. So, that's a long-winded approach to saying that it's a live auction app on your phone that's, rather convenient. So yeah, that's my quick little rundown of what Whatnot is. And so.
And from what you know about the platform, is it primarily for buying and selling kind of single things? Is it, I know breaks are run on there or sold on there. What's like the primary function of the app?
I would say breaks or single sales. Like, I know it's hard to say what the app is for, because I've seen so many people make their kind of niche within the platform, right? Like, I mean, so I've taken a little bit of a break the last month. I've had personal stuff, just been too busy to run them. But I ran them for about 2 months straight, and I saw anywhere from 5 to 10 more viewers every Saturday and Sunday, right? And so, my thing was, I don't want to say everything was $1, because pretty much like I was selling things anywhere from $1 to $1,000. And like some of the higher end stuff, like I'll fully admit that I was risking, like I was willing to take a loss, just trying to kind of build the platform, get people involved. But I mean, I've done pretty well on it, to be honest. And, one of the things I will admit, stack selling on there is kind of hard, because just the way the fees work out, like you're taking a lot bigger hit on a $1 card than you are a $10 card. Because I think if you sell one card for $1, you only get about 40 cents back, maybe 45. But if you sell a $10 card, I think you get like $9.50 or something like that. So, you do have to take those into account. And after the first couple, then that's why I started doing mini lots, basically. So instead of selling one $1 card where the seller is then going to get charged, shipping on each of those. And I think it's like 50 cents is the incremental charge for the shipping. But, if you're buying $10 cards, you don't want to pay an extra $5 to ship those, dollar top loaded cards. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So I eventually switched to doing kind of mini lots. So if the cards are, under $10, I would put 2, 3, maybe 4 cards up there to get more people interested and kind of, add a little incentive to bid on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think I saw you do that. So for the vast majority of them, though, because when I was tuned in, you were setting it at $1 for 30-second with an auction format.
Yep.
Is that how it typically works? Or are there other ways that it works and that you use it?
Yeah, so not how I use it. I know other people have, they have a store built out, they have their fixed price stuff. But I mean, what I do is I basically, because I'm running, I think I was averaging about 200 cards a day. And so it'd take about hour, 2 hours, a little over that. And so I have little colored stickers. I number them 1 to, 100, 200, whatever I'm going to do. I have them all on there. And basically I run that, and that's my reconciliation, right? So it's just, at a certain point, so I actually brought it down to 15-second auctions just to power through, because I mean, in my opinion, for these cards, I get it on bigger cards. People want to go check comps, things along those lines. So, you probably want to give them a little bit more time. But
not, which I think happens on. I think that happens on Whatnot too, and that's some of the negative publicity is people overpaying on short periods of time.
So,
not to interrupt. Sorry.
No. So it's interesting because I've seen it go both ways. Like I've seen people who have commented like, "Oh, I missed out," like because I was checking comps, and then I have other people who, and I will say that's one of the things I obviously as a seller I like this, right? Because people are buying the card. They're paying what they want to pay for the card. They're not paying what other people have determined is the okay price to pay for it. And that's why I like the quick, kind of auction format, because I mean, I think we're just kind of too obsessed with comps in the hobby, and people aren't I'm not going to haggle over $5 on a card that I want. Right. And so that's just, that's one aspect that I have enjoyed from it, but it's cool. It's a live stream. I can talk to people in chat. It's cool. Again, like I have a lot of you guys hop in there. I can kind of BS with some of my friends, and then, it creates a more community feel in there. Right. And, for all the flack Whatnot takes, kind of circling back to what I said before, I mean, it's a matter of I don't think the platform determines if someone is good or not, right? You can build your own community within any app that you're using. And I think that people find their breakers that they like, right? Like people love Blake and, Deep Fried and stuff along those lines. And when you build a community, that's what you got, right? People trust you. The saying is it takes your whole life to build up your reputation and one decision to ruin it, right? And so I think that that's an important factor for people to take in, regardless of the platform that they're using.
Yeah, I mean, I've only tuned into Whatnot for your sales. And so for me, I only saw what I saw, and my instant reaction was, this is amazing. I mean, it's a lot of what I'm setting out to build myself, which is a platform. And that was all I saw. Like, I know there's other things on the platform, but what I witnessed, and when I tuned into your sales specifically, was smaller dollar cards. I was seeing cards, you were setting them $1, 30-second auction, and they were going for $7. It was like a, Bowman out of a mega box first of like some random player, or, a high number. I think what I was seeing was like some Bowman, some basketball. And it was just like, from what I saw, because I've heard all the negative publicity, of course, everybody has. But from what I saw, my reaction was, this seems phenomenal. I mean, this seems like a great solution for moving a lot of cards quickly, which you were doing, and seemed to be having some fun doing it.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, we've all sold on Twitter, right? And going back through messages, like all of those things, I mean, I can sell 200 single cards and have them packed and shipped within 2 hours after doing it. And the payment's there immediately, right? So that is one of the things that I love about Whatnot is...
That was actually going to be my next question, is probably, in my opinion, as I've gotten better at stack selling on Twitter, the biggest frustration for me is my sale is done, and now putting together the jigsaw puzzle of who bought what, whose takes were first, putting that all together in a spreadsheet, sending out invoices, figuring out who paid by cross-referencing PayPal with Twitter messages. That, for like, the packaging part for me has become not the frustrating part, because I get my stuff all set up and like I can move and I'm like moving through super fast, like bubble wrap, rolled into a team bag, whatever. I'm probably not doing it in the right order. Into a into a bubble mailer, slap on a label, bang, good to go. My curiosity for whatnot as I was watching it is I was seeing people win. I don't know, not being a verified seller on there, I don't know what happens after somebody wins. Is a card charged there? And then how do labels work? Can you walk me through the payment / labeling / getting things shipped off process?
Yeah, absolutely. So to enter stack sales or anything, you have to have a card connected. So you have to have an active. And if you win, it says right there, like payment went through or payment failed. And so that's the payment part is super easy. And then what they do is they do payouts. So if you have over 1,000 individual sales or like 10 grand in gross sales, you can actually cash out immediately. Typically though, if you're like a newer seller, you have to wait, I think 5 days, and then there's like a release schedule. But basically, yeah, so the payment goes through. All your sellers or all your buyers are now kind of organized at the end. I'll run it through this. So I run the stack sale, payments all go through. At the end of the stack sale, there's a seller page, and you go and it has it all individualized. So who bought what, and that's why I do the numbers, right? So the bill of sale, oh my God, the invoice. So it has what cards they have on it, right? So you can print everything from that session and it'll give you what they bought and then the shipping label. So I have a Rolo, right? I think that's how it's pronounced. I don't know. I have one of those shipping labels. So what I do,
thermal printer.
Thermal
some
printer
brand.
Print them all through, break them up. So I have the invoice and then the shipping label. I go through, sort all of the cards by number, and then I sit there, watch college football, and put the. Oh my God! This is going to bug me. What's it called? What do they put in not the bill of sale? Oh my God. Anyways,
finance guy trying to find finance.
It's like
an accounting
the
word.
bill of lading.
Very entertaining for me.
There you go.
What was it?
The bill of lading, I think. Isn't that what
there you go.
What it's
I
called?
honestly don't know.
Anyway, so organize that, then boom, you're done, right? So these are all in small cards. It does get a little dicey with slabs because like the weight can throw off some of the shipping stuff. It's not that big a deal.
That was going to be a question of mine. So so you put up a card, it sells for $4.
Yep.
Let's go 2 situations. I'm just curious here. Somebody buys one card for $4. Somebody buys 5 $4 cards. How does the price of shipping work, and when is that billed?
Yeah. So it is all billed to the customer, and basically when you set it up, there are options of what you're selling, right? So they have basically estimated weights that are associated with it. And so what you do is the first one you buy, you're paying full shipping. I think it's $4.50 no matter what. If you buy one card, at least for mine, that's like the base price of the lightest thing, which is like obviously a single. But then after that, incrementally, it's only like I think 25 cents or 50 cents, something along those lines. So you're not paying the full shipping on each of those. And then that's part of the reason I run my stack sales on Sunday or Saturdays and Sunday, because the people who then tune in on Sunday can add their stuff to the Saturday stack. And so that way on Sunday, like if I do everything together.
How long does it stay open? Just do you choose that, or do
it's so I pretty early on I decided to do the Sunday because people were and like I just get tired, right? Like now I like just got a new chair because my back would just be cooked after like bending over, like trying to get my arms around like the little streaming thing and stuff like that. So I would typically do an hour to 2 hours until like I just literally could not. And I just would have people that were like, well, this is a fun stream, I want to come back. And so I'd just do it the next day and they'd come and we would go from there. So yeah, that was kind of how I determined that. But yeah, it makes it super easy on Sundays. I'm telling you, like I said, I mean, getting out 100, 200 cards before, like when I was doing it on Twitter, it would take me a full day, 2 days to get out 30 cards. And even that, it wasn't even so much as it was difficult. It was just more overwhelming. Like there's just so much that you have to, like you said, like you're making the spreadsheet, you're determining who took first, you're doing all this, you're responding to DMs, like all of those things. And not to say that I'm sure that maximizing profit, probably all that effort is worth it. When I'm trying to sell, I literally have probably 4,000 top loaded cards to my right here that are just waiting to go back up on Whatnot. I'm not willing to do that on Twitter. I'm not willing to sit there and take a picture of each, like especially when I can just have my phone set up, live stream every 30 seconds, just replacing card, right? And then I'm not the one going to ship pirate and entering everything. Like it's literally just print all, and my only responsibility is organizing the cards and making sure they get out.
Yeah, I think that the time it takes to package packages is way overstated, and the understated piece of stack selling is absolutely, for me, reconciling. I start sending out my invoices, and I start getting responses with questions before I get out all of them. Yep. And then I'm answering questions while also trying to invoice, while also other people are paying. So I'm getting PayPal notifications. It's mayhem. Like it is that part of it is absolute mayhem for me. It's the word you used, overwhelming, describes it perfectly.
Yeah. I mean, and there's no good way to organize on Twitter, right? Like, and sure, you can use hashtags and stuff like that, but unless you have buyers who are bought into whatever process that you're trying to create, like you're always going to have those outliers. And so that's, I mean, really just like, I'm willing to pay the, whatever percentage that they take out of it so that I don't, I mean, you're talking hours of your life, right? And when this is more of, I mean, this isn't my main gig. I enjoy my time. I have a couple other jobs that, keep a roof over my head. And so,
man with many jobs.
Yeah. Like I'm not trying to, respectfully, I'm not trying to take 4 hours of my life on the weekend to just go through everything that goes along with it, especially when I have an option of someone taking, it's less than it, but, say they take an overall of 10% when, again, the only actual part I'm doing is shipping, and then on top of it, not for nothing, how many times have we seen on Twitter people like trying to slander everyone, like, oh, I took it first, this guy screwed me, like I had dibs, like, it's just all that. It cuts out it. I'm a big fan of cutting out the bullshit, like, excuse my language, but I just don't I just don't enjoy dealing with that stuff. Like, I have cards, if you want to buy them, here's your option. If you don't, like, there's plenty of other streams, go do something else, right? And that's part of the reason, like, I do auctions for a reason. I think I get a lot of the cards at reasonable prices because I buy such large bulk, and I don't feel like comping, $1 to $5 cards, especially when.
Yeah, that is an interesting point, is the ability to not have to spend. You're using Whatnot, you're trimming time in a variety of ways. You don't need, using the auction function, you don't need to comp. Using the tabulation, reconciliation functions and label printing, you don't need to reconcile. You don't need to type in individual addresses and fetch those addresses as well, which can be a pain.
Yeah, I mean, and think about the time putting a $1 card up on eBay takes.
I simply will not.
Exactly. Like,
I don't know how long that takes because I have never done it.
Yeah, it's not. It's just not something that I care to do. And when like I said, I mean, so say it takes 5 minutes to list something, right? Okay, well, in those 5 minutes, I've already ran 20 auctions. And obviously there's an argument to be made. Oh, there's so many more eyes on eBay. Okay, great. But if you create a community, how auctions work, you only need 2 people that want the card. That's literally the nature of auctions. I don't need them.
That is how a lot of very successful auctions go.
Like, it's not, I don't need a million eyes if no one's actively looking at it. But if people are on my stream specifically looking for sub $10 cards, and look, I'm not going to say that I make out like a bandit. It evens out. I make money on it, but I take washes on cards that I think should go for higher, and I sell cards for higher that I think probably shouldn't. And so it's a give and take. And, that was, I think I've met a lot of friends who have gotten discouraged from trying Whatnot or, just new platforms in general. I mean, I knew I was going to not take a wash, but I mean, it's the first couple were not fun, like, sitting there, it was just, a couple of my friends in there. Like, I think my first stream had less than 10 people. And I think you were 10%.
Some people giving you some,
yeah.
some people giving you some pity buys.
Exactly. Like I think it was you and Tums. Like I think you guys were 20% of my entire viewership, the first one. But then moving forward too, because, we've seen stories of sellers on Whatnot just freaking out and shutting the stream down because they were losing money and things like that. And look, man, you're not going to go onto Whatnot and fill a Prism break at full price as the same as, like, I can't even think of a big breaker off the top of my head right now, but people have curated their community. And I think people still have in their mind the early days of Whatnot when you were one of the first 10 card sellers on there. And during that time, yeah, I mean, dude, you could throw up a base Jason Dominguez and sell it for $40, and I mean, that's just not the case now. There's a lot more competition. So actually, and I know people don't like to hear this in the hobby, but being good at being personable, there's a lot more steps than just having cards. Anyone can buy cards. There's a lot more that goes into, selling. So,
I mean, this dovetails directly into my next question. When one of the things that I saw when I made the Stack release announcement was someone said, no one's going to use Stack. They want to buy on social media and nobody wants to leave the apps they know. I found that actually very interesting. Obviously, they were trying to detract from some of the work that I was doing, but I do appreciate not, everyone giving pats on the back. That's great. But the people with constructive criticism, I find interesting. So how have you combated the fact that, okay, people know Dari on Twitter, at least, maybe you're on Instagram, but I feel like you probably have your biggest presence on Twitter.
Yeah.
And how have you gotten people, which you got me to leave the Twitter app and go over onto your Whatnot sales?
Yeah. So I've gotten about 40 people onto Whatnot just from saying, hey, I'm doing this. And I think that kind of brings us all together, right? Like people want to buy from the person. I don't really care what app it's on. Like I've bought on, Loop, ISO, like all these different apps that have come up. Like I support people that are good. Obviously good is a very subjective term, but there are so many stories of breakers screwing people over and things along those lines. Like I call it conscious capitalism, right? Like the one thing you can control is who you give your money to. And while there is still this kind of competition that we have here in the hobby, I'm going to make sure my money is going to people who, are, in my opinion, genuine people who care about the community, about curating a long-term goal, not the people just trying to make a quick buck that are going to be gone, next year.
And another thing when we're talking about barrier to entry on Whatnot that I've thought personally a lot about as I think about the other players in this space, as I try to develop this application, is that, a lot of people like myself would want to quietly sell in my basement while, watching TV or something along those lines. How has it affected you that you actually have to stream and be on camera and be entertaining for your sales?
So what's interesting, so I'm probably one of the more boring people that you will ever watch on Whatnot. And I've actually gotten a lot of positive feedback from that because sometimes people just want to buy cards. Like not everyone wants to hear "Let's Go" screamed in their ear,
And we talk about it a lot, actually, you and I, like the people who go through the base cards of a Bowman break and no one's there for that. And they pull a base first of the big name and they like, here we go. I'm like, dude, no one's here for that. Can we please just move? Like, if we could keep this a little professional, that would be nice.
So, and I'll put it this way. I think I am a very typical consumer, especially within the hobby. Like, I think my opinion is probably shared with a large portion, right? And not to say that there's not a place for all the pizzazz that a lot of these people do. It's just not me. I don't enjoy it. I don't need people screaming in my ear. Like, it's just not something I enjoy. I like cards. And so I try and be a breaker or a seller that like I would want to watch. And so you'll hear me talk about sports and like crack jokes and stuff, but I'm not the one who's always talking to you. Like I'm really not that guy. And like I said, I mean, I've had multiple people directly reach out either on Twitter or Whatnot who have watched the stream and basically said like, that was an enjoyable stream because it was normal, right? Like it wasn't, you're not doing so much. Like, I'm not trying to convince someone that buying a 7th year Mookie Betts parallel is, that's not going to make you rich, but shit, is it a cool card? Yeah, it is, right? Like, I think we're in an interesting point in just cards in the hobby in general, right? I think people are realizing that, I mean, what happened after, we don't have a lot of collectors. Like, that number has dwindled. And I think right now we're kind of just shaking out the people who are buying high to sell higher. And I'm totally okay with that, to be honest, because as someone who just genuinely enjoys collecting things, because I don't have a lot going on in my regular life, I want to be able to enjoy it. Like, I don't want, I mean, not to name names, but like, I just don't enjoy a lot of the frattiness that has come along with the hobby. Like, not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just, like, I don't know. We're collecting cards. It's not that serious, right? And I think a lot of people.
My business partner, who's just getting into this, I sent him one of my first troll tweets that came out after the Stack announcement, and he's not in cards at all.
Yeah.
And he's like, people really are this mad about this stuff? I was like, dude, just wait, man.
It's crazy. I mean, it's like. And people, I don't know. Facebook is really where you can see like what's wrong with the hobby, and you're just kind of like, man, chill.
Facebook
like,
is madness.
It's literally. I don't think I've lasted longer than 5 minutes on Facebook whenever I log on, because I start reading comments and I'm like, you're awful. This is like what is like, I don't know. Maybe it was how I was raised, but like, it's one of those things, like, you don't need to say anything in that situation, right? Like, you're not adding anything to the convo. It's just, I don't know. It's weird energy that.
No, it's simply people are on there to be toxic.
Yeah.
It's like when you get the eBay comment, and I think I talked about this actually on this podcast, was I listed a 2019 Soto Sapphire, and it's his first Sapphire, and I just, I did the thing that everybody does. I found a sold one and I copied the listing, and it had RC in it. And like, the guy who decided he needed to message me and be like, Soto's rookie year was 2018. You need to take this down. I'm like, I mean, dude, you really don't have anything better to do with your time?
It's crazy. I mean, it's, I don't know. Like I said, and I'll keep harping on this point. Like, that's why I think curating your community within the community is incredibly important. For lack of a better quote, different strokes for different folks, right? I'm sure there's people who absolutely love the pyrotechnics and all that stuff when they're watching breaks and selling stuff. But I enjoy collecting cards. I enjoy sports. That's it. Like, and I think some people think they work for Topps, or they play on the team that, so.
I promise you don't.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think this is a good spot to end. I've got a couple of questions before I let you go.
Yep.
So I think that by the time this airs, we're going to be right around the World Series, or it will have already happened. So in an effort for you to be wrong when this airs, who is going to win the World Series?
The Dodgers will beat the Houston Astros in the World Series.
Oh, the ultimate redemption game.
In a 4-2 series win.
All right. So we'll see where things stand when this airs. And the last thing is, I just want to give you an opportunity to plug the places that you sell. Where can people go to find you?
Follow me on Twitter, Dary Rezvani, DaryRezvani, and then it's Daranosaurus on Whatnot. Those are the only two places you'll find me. Maybe by the time this gets out, I'm on Loop. Not 100% sure yet, but it'll be Daranosaurus regardless. So, rawr.
Yeah, we'll have to have you back on if you are on Loop, because that is something that I have on the docket that I want to get a Loop seller on here for people to hear about that, maybe some of the differences, so we can have that conversation. But Dari, thanks again. I appreciate you spending some time with me today, and it was great having you on GoodSellas.
Absolutely. Come back anytime, man. This was a very enjoyable experience.
Awesome, man.
Thanks for listening to GoodSellas. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow along wherever you get your favorite podcasts. To learn more about the hobby and how to sell your cards faster and easier, visit us at stacksales.io. We'll see you next time.